If there's one thing about talking sports for a living, it's that I've learned there's really no absolutes. If you look at basketball, you used to always need a center, and then it was like, okay, we don't want centers anymore, and now I think we want centers again, or at least just big guys that don't play like centers. But you get the point. It really depends on who wins, then everybody else says, hey, let's do exactly what they're doing. I used to love when Golden State would go on their runs, and people would say, you know what we need? We need a backcourt like Steph and Clay. Okay, good luck. Let your scouts know that. In football, it's happened with quarterbacks, and I've brought this up numerous times, how hard it is to actually draft the position, but you used to want tall guys, and then you wanted tall guys with big arms and big completion percentage, but now we've learned that completion percentage doesn't really mean anything. Big arm isn't all that, and now I think we like short quarterbacks, but I don't think it's going to be to the point where everybody's saying, hey, let's get shorter at quarterback. But if there is one absolute that I think has picked up a lot of momentum and may never, ever recover, is never invest resources in your running back. Now, I know you're going to jump out and say, hey, what about? Don't be exception guy. Don't be what about guy arguing some of the rare instances where it did work out, or we don't know currently if that money is well spent. Christian McCaffrey signed a big contract with the Panthers. It makes sense. He's really important to them. And I'm not even going to hold injuries against a bunch of these guys if we get through it, because let's face it, the running back money history isn't great recently. But we still don't know what the rest of that deal is going to look like, what kind of production you're going to get. Alvin Kamara, same thing with the New Orleans Saints. I know everybody loves him. I know they love his versatility. Same thing with McCaffrey a little bit, but we don't know what that deal will look like. And Derrick Henry with the Titans, you want to know why that's actually a good deal? One, he's really good, and they only gave him like $25 million guaranteed. So even though it was a 4-year deal when it was announced, it was more like a 2-year deal. But let's look at some of these other deals, okay? Zeke Elliott, 6 years, $90 million. Now, he's never going to get the full 90 in this, and if he's really good, maybe it's reworked. But that was only because of the Dallas Cowboys. When I would talk to people about that contract, they go, you know the beauty of this with Zeke and his agent, and good for them, by the way? The only team that would pay him this kind of money was the Dallas Cowboys, and they went ahead and did it. Todd Gurley is the gold standard for one of the worst contracts in NFL history, and I really mean that. He had 1 year left on his rookie deal. The Rams said, no, instead of giving you like $11, $12 million, we want to pay you in cash over $30 million. That's basically what the Rams did. They gave Gurley over $22 million as a raise in cash in that first year when they didn't even have to do it. And guess what? They cut him before they got any of that new money. The dead cap number on Gurley was over $20 million. It's the second highest dead cap charge in NFL history, only behind Antonio Brown. Le'Veon Bell, remember when he was with the Steelers? And he'd say, I don't want to be paid just as a running back. I want to be paid as a running back and a receiver, and I want like $20 million a year. And everyone's like, all right, good luck with that. And then, by the way, everybody screwed up whether or not Le'Veon Bell sitting out a year counted towards free agency or didn't. It didn't forever until one guy realized that it did, and then everybody said, oh, no, we knew this all along. No, you didn't. But Le'Veon Bell, okay, think of these numbers. $28 million from the Jets. And this isn't just contract average annual value. I'm talking real cash out of your pocket. The Jets paid Le'Veon Bell $28 million for 3 touchdowns and not even full 2 seasons. It's almost like the Jets sat around and said, hey, do we want to just spend a ton of money on something right now that nobody else is doing? Yeah. Let's do that. Let's go get Le'Veon Bell. He's not even with the team. He's on the Chiefs now. The other part of this Le'Veon Bell number that's insane is that Steelers paid $16 million in total in cash for the first 5 years of Bell's career, and the Jets basically paid double for only a year plus. Devontae Freeman, at one point, hey, a really good running back in the NFL, got a new contract north of $20 million in cash from the Atlanta Falcons. He gave them 9 touchdowns in 3 years, and then he was cut. David Johnson signed a 3-year, $39 million contract with Arizona, where they actually gave him $32 million guaranteed. So these are about cash numbers here, the number that really matters, because most NFL contracts, it's what's the cash, what is it in the first 3 years of the deal. In this deal, he got the 4th highest guaranteed money at the running back position in NFL history. I know you drafted David Johnson at some point in fantasy. He wasn't one of those guys. He was good, but he wasn't great. Now, granted, it worked out because they found a team that was even dumber on the David Johnson transaction to be able to trade him for arguably the best receiver in the NFL in DeAndre Hopkins. And a more minor one, because Melvin Gordon wanted more money from the Chargers, they said no. And the Broncos were like, hey, you know what? Do you guys just want to give Melvin Gordon $13 million for 2 years and guarantee it? Yeah. Let's do that. Well, we do have other running backs in the roster. No. Let's just spend it on Melvin Gordon. That one doesn't make any sense either. And despite all that recent history that I just shared with you, most NFL teams have actually figured this out. Don't put your resources into the running back position, because I went back and looked at the 20 biggest running back contracts handed out in NFL history. And of those 20, 12 of those contracts were handed out to guys that haven't played in the league or 5 or more years. So there has been a correction. let's look at the draft, because if you're drafting it, you can make an argument that makes sense because at least you're not paying somebody else's running back, because once you turn 26, 27, the numbers are very clear. You're just not playing that much. And I don't know if it's because there's ageism at the position or they go, the production just isn't the same. There's a lot of running backs you look at, their second, their third year, it's a huge number. They get a big contract, and then you're left with a bill and dead cap space. Let's look at the draft. 2018, Saquon Barkley. I'm not going to hold the injury against him, but it doesn't make any sense taking somebody this high at the position. It just isn't. You also have Sony Michel, who went in the first round. Ask Pats fans how they feel about that. And then, of course, Penny with the Seattle Seahawks. Yes, he's on the injured list right now, but it's 789 yards this far into his career. Fournette, pick number 4 by Jacksonville, cut 3 years later. In that same draft, Joe Mixon went in the second round. Dalvin Cook, who's been incredible right now, and he did get a contract extension, he went in the second round. Alvin Kamara, we've already touched on that, third round. Kareem Hunt, third round as well. 2015, look at some of these later picks. James Conner went in the third round. Derrick Henry went in the second round. Kenyon Drake, who it seemed like it took forever, and then he actually got paid a little bit with Arizona. He was a third round pick as well. 2015, we already covered Gurley. We already covered Melvin Gordon. So the point is that yes, Leonard Fournette, this is awesome, but what does he really do? How much does he change your team? How much does Saquon Barkley really change your team? Hey, Russillo, you left out Josh Jacobs. Well, here he is because he's been really good. And late first round, it's turned out to be a pretty decent pick. But I do worry how much you actually going to have to pay him once he's up again, because history, again, is not on your side. Let's look at history, because back in 2015, the average annual salary to a running back was about $4.5 million for a length of 2.2 years. The average annual salary in 2019 was $2.2 million for an average of about 1.5 years. So now these contract length and numbers are going down. By the way, 1.6 mil, 1.5 million, which is where running back is at right now, positionally, it's only ahead of punters and fullbacks. So then we've started to hear some arguments saying that they need their own version of the CBA. They need to figure this out. I'd love to know, where were you when the guards were being underpaid? Because running back is still cool. It's something we draft in fantasy. But the idea that the NFL is supposed to make some new accommodations to the running back position because you're being underpaid, no, the market has decided that we're just not going to pay you this much anymore because it doesn't matter. And that's really where we get to this whole point. Because there's been no running back that I can even think of that can carry a team to the playoffs, never mind through the playoffs, at the position the way the game is being played. Adrian Peterson's the last guy. It was 2012, that Vikings team with Christian Ponder went 10-6, and it only took over 2,000 yards for Peterson to get that team into the playoffs, which none of us could believe at the time. You want to sign Peterson? Okay, after 14 years, we've learned that he's not even human. That's the one that I would sign off on. But you have to ask yourself this. Do I want to pay my running back? Probably not. But do I want to pay somebody else's running back? That's an even worse decision. And it's played out this way almost every time over the last few years.